world didn't end in 2012 as predicted. Or did it? Did we dodge the Hollywood-style apocalypse, or did we just hit the start button? Let's unravel the mysteries behind this myth and see if we're living in a sequel or maybe just an extended director's cut. In today's video, we'll be discussing the Mayan calendar. Did it actually call for an apocalypse? If so, how did we miss it? And did we actually miss it? We'll be talking about Atlantis, global warming, and the new predictions of the doomsday. The Mayan calendar is a calendar system used by the Mayan civilizations of Mesoamerica. It is one of the most sophisticated calendrical systems ever developed, consisting of several interlocking cycles that track time in both short and long intervals. The two main calendars in the Mayan systems were the Tzolk'in and the Hab. The Tzolk'in consisted of 260 days and was primarily used for religious and ceremonial purposes. The Hab, on the other hand, was a solar calendar consisting of 365 days. They used this calendar to help them know when is the best time to plant and harvest their crop and when to celebrate their festivals. Hab consists of 365 days in a calendar year, just like the ones we use. However, instead of 12 months, it has 18 months. Each month has 20 days in it, and at the end of the year, there was a little leftover, like 5 days, so then they would place them in a special month that they called Wahab or Wayeb. In addition to this, the Mayans also had a long count calendar, which tracked longer periods of time. Now, this long count calendar wasn't for regular days like when to plant and when to harvest. It was used to track really important events that occurred over many years. The long count calendar worked in special ways. It had these things called baktuns, and it was like big blocks of times. Each baktun had 144,000 days in it. And guess what? Inside each baktun, there were 13 smaller parts called katuns, and each katuns had 7,200 days in it. So the long count calendar helped Mayans remember really important events that happened over many years. It was like a big history book that kept track of all time. While the primary function of the Mayan long count calendar was to keep track of important historical events, interpretations have surfaced that suggest prophetic elements. These interpretations stem from the analysis of Mayan inscriptions, iconography, and historical texts. One frequently cited example is the inscription found on Stela 6 at the archaeological site of Tortuguero in present-day Mexico. Dated around 669 AD, this inscription refers to the end of the 13th baktun of the long count calendar, corresponding to December 21st, 2012. The text mentions the return of a Mayan god associated with creation, hinting at a cyclical view of time and renewal rather than a catastrophic event. In essence, this signifies a mere change in the cycle of the calendar, comparable to how people in the modern age observe the end of a century or millennia. There is no indication in the existing Maya writings that any catalysm accompanies this transition. The Maya who developed the long count calendar believed that the end of one cycle would simply herald the beginning of another. The Mayan long count calendar didn't end in 2012 as in the sense of apocalypse or the end of the world. It merely marked as a completion of an end of a cycle known as the 13th baktun in the long count calendar. So why the big fuss? Is there any importance or significance to it? Yes. The year 2012 marks a pivotal moment, a threshold crossed over, propelling us toward the digital age of information and amplifying the drive toward individual sovereignty. Now, why is that exciting and why is it so important? The dawn of a new era. With the ascent of the information age, knowledge and information take center stage as the primary sources of wealth and power. The year 2012 ushered in substantial changes that reshaped the fabric of our society in myriad ways. The colossal shift of the year 2012 began to return power to the common man. It is important to note the initiation of the new era actually began in the year 2000. In early 2000s, we began seeing big advancements in technology, and by 2012, those changes had taken root into our foundation. But how exactly does the shift give power back to us and lead us into an era where each person has more sovereignty and independence? Number 1. Technology. In 2012, technology continued to advance rapidly. More people started using smartphones and tablets, which changed how we communicate and access information. Social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter became even more popular, connecting people all over the world instantly. 2012 witnessed key events such as the Arab Spring, where social media played a significant role in organizing protests and spreading information. This highlighted the power and reach of platforms like Facebook and Twitter in facilitating communication and activism on a global scale. The growing popularity of smartphones and tablets, coupled with advancements in internet speeds, made streaming video more accessible and convenient for users. This likely contributed to increased usage of platforms like YouTube during this time. Benefit of this is that people now had access to more ways of teaching and learning from one another, a major shift away from the traditional school institutions. Number 2, decentralization and individual empowerment. In the information age, people would gain more power than ever before. They could bypass traditional organizations and intermediaries such as banks and lawyers. Technological advancements would decentralize power and authority, allowing individuals to exert greater control over their lives and resources. Remember the COVID protest where Trudeau froze bank accounts of some people involved? Well, with decentralization, governments wouldn't have that power. Trudeau's actions only made decentralization more necessary and important. Number 3, economic disruption and opportunity. In the information age, the introduction of new technology can drastically alter the way things are done, diminishing the significance of traditional economic systems. However, this disruption also brings forth new opportunities for individuals and businesses to explore alternative avenues for wealth creation. Take the rise of AI, for example. It has allowed individuals and businesses to make money in many new ways that weren't possible before. Number 4, disruption of traditional industries. One obvious change is the rise of e-commerce, which has completely transformed how we shop. Starting an online store costs much less than opening a physical shop, leading to a surge in entrepreneurship. Similarly, industries such as media, transportation, and finance have undergone significant changes due to digital disruption. Consider electrical vehicles. They run on electricity, which can be locally produced. Imagine a world where we don't have to rely on a foreign country for fuel. Remember what happened to gas prices when Russia took action in Ukraine? Number 5, emergence of new forms of commerce. Online marketplaces, crowdfunding platforms, subscription services, and peer-to-peer sharing economies are just a few examples of how technology has enabled innovative ways of buying, selling, and exchanging goods and services. These new forms of commerce have created opportunities for entrepreneurs and businesses to reach global markets and connect with customers in ways that were previously unimaginable. Number 6, freedom. The information age has granted individuals the freedom to move anywhere in the world and work remotely. Those who can adapt swiftly to technological changes and shifting market demands are more likely to thrive in this era. Moreover, it's making toxic corporate environments a thing of the past. Number 7. Now let's talk spirituality. While the end of the Mayan calendar didn't lead to global destruction, it did mark a major change in how people view the world. Dolores Cannon explored the idea of volunteers. These are souls who have incarnated into Earth during this time to help humanity spiritually evolve. Whether you believe in this idea or not, it's hard to ignore the fact that in the past decade, more and more people have become interested in spirituality, mindfulness, and alternative healing methods. This awakening has caused many to question old beliefs and search for deeper meaning in life. And that's not all. It is predicted that societies as we know it are on a brink of profound changes in several critical sectors. We're talking political, pharmaceutical, educational, finance, and more. And these are not mere ripples, but tectonic shifts that change the very foundations of our societies and how we live. Most of these changes are expected to occur between now and year 2027. I believe these changes are happening to give power back to us, the people. We might see more war, poverty, and corruption. Truths about big corporations and politicians could surface, leading to more uprisings and protests in different parts of the world, even the US, or especially the US. We've already started to see some of that happening across the world. I believe these events are important to occur so that we wake up as a society. They will make us angry enough so that we come together and command changes from those in charge. This could lead to a revolution, a whole new way of living for all of us. Okay, so the world is changing for good, but it's not calling for doomsday, is it? Let's dig into the past to uncover some clues. In the Netflix series Ancient Apocalypse, Graham Hancock explores various locations where evidence of ancient structures hint at catastrophic floods. These sites span from South America to the Middle East and possibly even parts of Southeast Asia. By connecting archaeological findings with astronomical events, Hancock suggests a tale of cataclysmic event echoed in ancient religious texts like the Quran and Bible. But that's not all. Carvings and depictions from ancient civilizations often portray a fiery serpent descending from the skies and water swallowing everything in its path. These images add weight to a narrative of a great catastrophe. Greg Braden further elaborates that across various ancient civilizations, there is a consistent theme of ancestral stories about previous worlds and a great flood. This flood could have been caused by the rapid melting of ice and subsequent rise in sea levels. He mentions indigenous traditions talk about a lost continent, which most link back to Atlantis or the lost city of Mu. He suggests that stories like Atlantis might have originated from real events triggered from ice melt and sea level rise. He says survivors dispersed into 4 corners of the world with the knowledge they had. They didn't have any equipment, but they had the knowledge which they tried to replicate in the material that was available to them. And it all ties back to a catastrophic event that no one could foresee, not even the advanced civilization like Atlantis. So are there any signs or predictions pointing towards a doomsday scenario? I was curious, so started digging. Here are my findings. As the climate crisis escalates, life as we know it is in trouble. Soaring temperatures are fueling the spread of disease, food and water insecurity, and sea level rise. Billions of people are affected by extreme weather events, cities too hot to live in, humanitarian crises, trade and supply chain disruption, and economic turmoil. A sea ice-free Arctic is only years away. The melting of Arctic sea ice, along with the melting of glaciers and ice sheets, contributes to rising sea levels, which threaten coastal communities and infrastructure worldwide. Temperatures in permanently frozen Arctic ground have reached record highs in recent decades. As temperatures in the Arctic rise, permafrost begins to thaw. This thawing process releases stored organic matter, such as dead plants and animals, which can fuel wildfires when they dry out and become exposed to ignition sources like lightning or human activity. Thawing permafrost can also destabilize the ground, making slopes less stable and increasing the likelihood of rock slides and other types of landslides. These disturbances can create additional fuel for wildfires and contribute to their spread. As the planet warms, regions that were previously less prone to wildfires may experience more frequent and intense fire seasons. So far, there are no indications of any astral activities pointing towards a doomsday. But if I'm being frank, it's not like CIA or NASA would release that information to general media. Astrology, however, has predicted a rise in floods and other natural disasters happening as early as this year. So does this mean the world didn't end in 2012, but it's about to? And is global warming the main cause of it? Or is humanity paying for its sins because, well, Jesus' sacrifice didn't cover the tab? The truth is, there isn't just one truth. For example, in Missing Links, Greg suggests that global warming may not actually be caused by a rise in carbon dioxide emissions, but rather something else. Now, if you were to go research this truth or theory, you will find evidence both supporting and rejecting it as mere speculation. I do recommend you watch Missing Link. Greg makes some really good arguments and offers hard to argue evidence that supports his statements. Drawing from the study of ancient texts, he proposes that every 1,000 years time resets for humanity, kind of like sandglass. This gives us a chance to make different choices, lead life with more love and compassion, potentially saving us from repeating past mistakes and therefore the Great Flood, which could ascend us to, let's say, a new level of this virtual reality. But if the path to victory is love and compassion, I'm not very optimistic the odds are in our favor when I turn on the TV or stumble upon Twitter or read some really dark comments from the trolls. While the future remains uncertain, one thing is constant, and that's time is cyclical, as evidenced in nature, ancient stories, and even the principles of quantum physics. So it's only a matter of time before we experience the Great Flood. In my opinion, it might be a lot sooner than we think. In fact, some of us may even be around to witness it. If so, would you like to be around to experience this?